So next up we have Gus Cooke, my colleague Gus Cooke, who will be giving us a Global Mapper pro tip. How are you this morning, Gus?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Meg?
Doing all right, thanks. Enjoying the presentations, you know.
Gus, I'm going to share the screen with you,
Perfect.
and you can take it away, my friend.
Excellent. Let me
Thank you.
just verify that I'm sharing the correct screen. Everything looks good.
Yep.
Alrighty, so for my Global Mapper pro tip, I'm going to highlight a couple pro features here. We can see that we have some publicly available USGS 3D EP LiDAR data, and we're going to perform a couple actions on this data to create some derivative products, and we're going to capture this in our script builder tool, which is a really valuable way to begin the process of automation and to be able to have a jumping off point to perform your batch processing. So under the file menu, you can access the script builder, and I'm going to clear these out so it's all fresh and ready to go. We can dock this right under here, and I'm going to generate an elevation grid here from my LiDAR data. I'm going to use the binning minimum method, which is another pro feature. It's going to give me a nice smooth surface. I'm going to filter to just my ground points, and I'm going to generate my elevation grid. We can see here that that command to generate that elevation grid that I just performed in the user interface has now been recorded in Global Mapper script language in addition to being recorded in Python. Let's say we want to create some contours from our elevation grid. We can make 5-meter contours. So now we've generated our contours, we've created our elevation grid. Again, both of these commands are retained in my script builder. So for a final step here, I'm going to talk a little bit about another pro feature, which is the least cost path tool. I know we had a couple questions coming in during Jeff's Q&A section regarding this tool. Essentially, what least cost path allows you to do is find the optimal way to go from one point to a set of other adjacent points. And this is the optimal path in terms of producing the 2D distance. But if it was just as the crow flies, these would all be straight lines. The other thing it's going to take into account is trying to minimize the change in slope to stay away from those higher relief areas. So this tool can be accessed from under the terrain analysis menu, find least cost path between points. I'm going to add my points layer. And the starting point is based on the index of that particular point within the layer. We can choose to either visit each of these points sequentially based on their index from the starting point, or we can visit each one individually from that starting point. We're going to visit each of them sequentially. We can also specify a range of slope to try to maintain within our path. Let's say that we want to avoid slopes that are outside of the range of 0 to 20 degrees. So I'm going to let this run, and it's going to look through my terrain grid here, cell by cell, and perform this least cost path analysis where farther distance and higher changes in slope result in a higher cost. So we can see that we have our path that it's determined to connect all of these point features. And again, this command has been retained in my script builder, and I can then open up these recorded commands in my script editor. And what this is going to allow me to do is have a really nice jumping off point. No matter what your workflow is, you can perform the action within the interface and then have these commands recorded, so you don't have to worry about typing in the precise command and parameters exactly correctly. You can just maybe change some file paths or add this to a directory loop or a layer loop, and you can get a good jumping off point for your automation. These are the commands written in Global Mapper script, and you can also access these commands in Python. I'm going to select that option to switch to Python. I'm going to open up the script editor. You can see we've now retained those commands in Python language. So a really useful way to begin the process of automation. Sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating. You want to automate workflows, but you don't know exactly the correct commands to put in to be able to access that functionality. Now you have this really nice jumping off point. You can then save that file to a new Global Mapper script file or a Python script file. Alrighty, I think that about does it for a pretty quick tip and trick here, highlighting a couple of the tools available in Global Mapper Pro, being the script builder and the least cost path tool.